once like January hits, someone hypnotized Zeke and Le'Veon Bell, put them in a padded room on a seesaw for like 6 months, and then right around like early snap back and be like, hey, more football, guys. Like, fantasy football is all that matters.
You're listening to Let's Talk Fantasy Football, where men of fantasy genius have realized, hey guys, we don't need real football skills to dominate on the fantasy field. Yeah. So slap on your pads and grab your helmet. Shit's about to get real.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Let's Talk Fantasy Football. I am your host for this evening's podcast, Vinny Gonzalez, and I'm joined here again, I'll do it in the opposite order, by Matt Rogers.
Yeah, what's up, man? This is mine.
This is out to you. And over to Don Chrisman, the D.O.N.
Hey, man, I'm super happy to be here.
Wow. I'm super happy too, Don. Not depressed like last podcast. That was days ago. And we're here to address the
Time
rest
flies.
of the –
Time flies.
Yeah, it really does, Don. And we're here to address the rest of the NFC East, and we're going to touch on the Cowboys and the Redskins. So now that you know what we're doing – who's here, we are going to mention that we are sponsored by Vupiq. They're the revolutionary app that allows you to play fantasy football live while watching the game on TV. Predict the plays, the results of the play, and literally play fantasy football. You can sign up for the beta now by going to letstalkfantasyfootball.com/Vupiq. And as I mentioned before, we're going to touch on the Cowboys and Redskins, and that's pretty much it for this podcast. We'll hit a few news highlights that we didn't touch on last time, which have to do with the Redskins and mainly Zeke. Not really too much Cowboy news other than him causing problems. And just before we go into the news, just want to mention that our app is available on Android and iOS, and you can get that by going to letstalkfantasyfootball.com/Apple or /Android. And as we jump into the news here, Don, you wrote this one. I did not read this one at all. Redskins president Bruce Allen states that despite their repeated attempts, they have not received an offer from Kirk's agent, and they feel that Kirk has made it clear he prefers to play on a year-to-year basis. Yeah, I'm pretty much getting that too. I mean, the guy turns down $50 million guaranteed. He wants more than that, and I think he just kind of hates the Redskins at this point because early on in his career when he was playing well, he wanted to get a long-term deal done, lock him down. And they kind of got late to that deal, and I think he's kind of just fucking them over at this point. And I don't know. I think he has all the leverage in the world. But, again, I don't know too much of the financial side of football. But I think he's making a good move because Kirk is great.
Yeah, I mean, on top of that, apparently, I think it was on AMP, or I forget. It's being reported everywhere where Kirk is saying that he's letting God let him choose his path of where he'll go next, almost like a Reggie White deal that they're saying.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's going to let God decide where he's going to be going next. So.
If there's one thing I am sure of, it's that God will not choose the Redskins.
I think Kirk knows that, and he's using God as an excuse to get out of Washington.
Not to come back here.
Yeah, it's just God, man. It's not my call. But in all seriousness, though, Kirk's a badass. I love Kirk.
Yeah, dude, I think it's awesome. If I was a Redskins fan, I'd be furious. But he's got everything on his side.
Especially because that fan base too, like, just deserves Kirk, and it sucks that it may not happen. But in all seriousness, he may have decided to go this route because they completely changed up their receiving core, which we'll get into in a minute. They drafted a potential new running back, and he may be like, I want to see how this unfolds before making any sort of commitment now. So Kirk's a badass. I love when quarterbacks are in contract years, and Kirk just seems to perpetually be in contract years. So it's sweet.
Yeah, so he'll be playing on the tag. I think he made 24.
Yeah, he's making good coin, too, on top of that.
He made 20 last year. He's going to make 24 this year. So he certainly doesn't not have money. So
hold on. Oh, my God. They just posted this, too.
Remember, too, that he was drafted as RG3's backup on that team, and everyone was like, why'd they do that?
Who is this guy?
Kirk knows what the fuck is up.
Okay, so Kirk Cousins' cash value. This was on ESPN's Instagram. Since 2015, his cash value, $660K. 2016, $19.95 mil. 2017, $23.94 mil.
Kirk fucking rules.
Dude, just keep breaking in that money, dude.
Make money. Be Kirk.
Yes, sir.
And moving on from Kirk being a complete fucking badass, we go to Zeke being kind of a badass, I guess, possibly punching out a DJ in a nightclub. Lots of murky details, lots of TMZ headlines. I kind of try to not give a shit about stuff like this, but it's so dead in the offseason that we have no choice. And Zeke has been a main spotlight the entire time with the rumored suspension. What do you guys think about what is happening with Zeke just in general?
When he has a request for a song, you fucking play it.
Apparently, man. I wonder what he wanted to listen to. What's his favorite fucking song?
Bands that make her dance.
Baja Man. Body was nice to talk to.
Yeah, Zeke wanted Who Let the Dogs Out.
Here's what I'll say about my stance on Zeke. One, it sucks because this is not the only incident. Obviously, it's like this guy just seems to be a magnet for trouble where it's like he's getting into car accidents, like potentially hitting women like in cars before accidents and potentially during accidents. I don't really know the full story. But he like started like pulling down some girl's shirt on social media, and you just gotta think like so much stuff is happening so quickly that like, are you gonna be one of those guys? Because dude, you're arguably the best running back in the NFL. So to take it to fantasy, my stance will be if there's anything we've learned about Le'Veon Bell as of late, this shouldn't necessarily be a universal opinion, but if Zeke misses less than 3 games, and it's possible that he misses none, but if it's only 1 or 2, I still think he's the 3rd pick. Because especially in a year where you got like Doug Martin is suspended, so like there's going to be guys that will have starting jobs temporarily that you can get in the 8th round. And once week 3 hits, you could go 1-1 because Jacquizz Rodgers put up 2 touchdowns for you against somebody. And now you have the 3rd overall pick. It would be a crime to let him drop to like the late 1st round and let some asshole grab him at like 10, you know?
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, no, exactly. I think Shrek posted on our Instagram that he already slipped to the 4th pick in ADP on Let's Talk Fantasy Football Calculator. So we're already seeing people start to panic, and I agree. If he misses 1 to 2 games, absolutely a 3. Anything more than that, though, if they nail him on the domestic violence stuff, that's automatic 6 games. So we're going to see him dip way into like different rounds. We'll have to discuss that like a certain point in time when you get a definite answer on this. But again, we may not even get definitive statement on what is going to happen to him when the season is about to start. So it's kind of hard to judge right now. It might get even worse. I would hope clarity would come, but again, we're just up in the air right now.
So question for you guys on that point. Say Zeke gets, we'll hedge the bet and we'll call it 5 games, right? Say he gets 5 games suspended. Where is Darren McFadden going right now? I'm so bad at finding ADPs. 14th round, right? Would you say it would be an interesting strategy to still draft Zeke 3 overall and reach like 2 to 3 rounds on Darren McFadden and just be like, I got the Cowboys backfield. I'm going to roll with it. And you could, if you're in fantasy, you could end up being 5 weeks ago, you could be 2-3 and then get Zeke. And Darren McFadden tore it up for Dallas for a little bit. I mean, he's older, but what are your thoughts on that strategy?
What is McFadden's ADP one more time?
14th round.
Dude, 2 to 3 is definitely fine. I think he might crawl even. If you said 5-game suspension.
Well, that's true. His ADP would go up. So
I much more than that. So like 2 to 3 is fine. I mean,
so my point
you're looking at like the 7th round. I'd probably be taking McFadden if I'm a Zeke owner.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So say his ADP climbs if Zeke gets suspended big. Would you think it's a worthwhile strategy to still just go Zeke 3 and then take Darren McFadden 2 rounds earlier and just buy up because it could end up saving your season potentially? Because what happens then? You go Antonio Brown, and then God knows what happens with your running backs, and you end up with like, you know, a Carlos Hyde and a Doug Martin. You know, it's just, I think that it could be serious. There's serious merit to doing that still, even with the big.
It depends. So say you're in a league where you get randomized on what your picks are and you're a number 3 versus if you're someone where we have the autonomy of where we pick versus how we landed, I would probably avoid the 3 spot for that reason. But if you get the 3 pick, I still go Zeke, and yes, I would still go with McFadden because you got to remember that offensive line is that good, man, that McFadden had the year prior had a great year. So yeah, I would go McFadden early on that.
Let me say that point, though, that O-line has gone through some changes now this offseason. Doug Free retired. They got Lael Collins, and I forget the other guy's name, but it's the left guard. And right now they don't have anybody clear-cut to play left guard. So I'm not saying the O-line is going to be bad. They're still going to be one of the better ones in the NFL, but don't count on that Cowboys O-line being what it was necessarily for the past 2 years because there's a little more question marks. That whole team's if the defense is different, they may not be playing up as much. I'm also arguing against myself on my last point.
So you're giving me a trick question is what you're doing.
Yes. Who's right, me
okay.
or me?
It's funny because we wouldn't even be talking about any of this if Zeke was just fine, but he's not. So the offensive line health definitely speaks more to the other guys, like potentially, the Darren McFadden fan club is back, and then we have Alfred Morris still in that backfield floating around, but those two are both up there in age, so they might not be able to perform up to Zeke level at all, but they will still be probably is it a stretch to say that they would be RB high 2s, low 1s while Zeke is out if he misses any time?
I wouldn't say once, but I would say Darren McFadden would be a solid RB2.
High 2 while he's gone. All right.
I would say mid 2.
I didn't want to get too cocky with like saying they'd be 1s, but
But you did.
It depends on your team.
Low.
The answer there is in your lineup. That's what that says. Whether it's high 2, low 1. What we got to do though is once like January hits, someone hypnotize Zeke and Le'Veon Bell, put them in a padded room on a seesaw for like 6 months, and then right around like early snap back and be like, "Hey, more football, guys! Like fantasy football is all that matters."
See, you really care about them, Matt, because you have them safe in a confined room, and they're also working out while they're there for 6 months.
Exactly, dude. You got to keep those legs strong, and a seesaw. If there's anything I learned from ages 3 to 7, it's that a seesaw works the glutes and the quads.
Even we were talking about this whole thing. Me and Dom were chatting before the cast, and I was saying that they should get the same babysitter that Dez had in his first couple of years over there in Dallas. I'm sure Jerry Jones has him on fucking speed dial. So figure that shit out and do that.
Read up on that. Sports Illustrated got wind of that. That's a no-mo. That is a no-mo with that guy.
Yes, so big spotlight for Zeke. We'll see what happens. So we pretty much delved into the whole Zeke situation and everything we possibly could there. Also touched on the guys that are potential handcuffs.
Well, I wanted to get your opinion. What do you think of that potential strategy? Zeke misses 5 games, still take him mid to high first round. Say 5.
It's a trick question, man. Don't answer it.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I all right, Matt. I love you. I love Matt. That thing is like communism. Like it's sweet on paper, but it will not work out.
Okay, because what my thing is that I've tried everything else, and nothing is worth. Just take a bunch of Cowboys. I'm going to mute myself. Go on. Move on.
Sorry, Matt. You made a good point, though. It's such a good thing in theory. Like you could come back and win your league with Zeke coming in the clutch, but
It sounds better when you say it. Think outside the Salvation Army.
It's hard to. It's very hard to. But yeah, I think we totally encompassed the entire Cowboys backfield. So let's move on to let's stay with you, Matt. You seem to be hitting your stride here on the podcast early. I know you love Dak. You took him, I would say, pretty early, and you had a strategy to get him during our mock draft. So just run me down on what you're thinking about Dak. Is he going to regress? Do you think he'll be fine? They have a tougher schedule. What are you thinking on Dak for this year?
They do, but what I'll say about Dak is I love Dak hard in drafts.
Agreed, yes.
But I'm saying I love Dak like quarterback 7 or 8 because his ceiling is huge. We've seen the Russian quarterbacks before. He's efficient as hell, and that may not translate to the rest of his career necessarily. But efficiency is great. 6 rushing touchdowns tied for the lead with Tyrod. That's always great that could happen for you. And what I really loved about him last year was in his rookie season. And granted, he plays bad against the Giants, and the Giants' defense is going to be great, so that's something to keep in mind. But he only had 3 weeks last year with less than 17 fantasy points. And he never was – what I love about him is that you would have RG3, all those mobile quarterbacks, Kaepernick, that would put up those 35-point weeks and then go dud. He consistently stayed within that 17 to 28 region for pretty much every time. He didn't do it against either Giants matchup. But to me, a rushing quarterback that's efficient, that's consistent, because that's all you can, right? What else can you ask for from the quarterback position? If someone told you this quarterback will 12 of 14 fantasy weeks get you between 17 and 27 points, I'll draft him in the 7th round. And that's what he did last year. So for me, I'd prefer to pair him with another upside, like I did in our mock draft, Mariota, a guy that could be struck by lightning the same. But for me, Dak's ceiling is top 3 quarterback. And I think his floor, if he stays healthy and is anything like last year, is like 13. And to me, that's definitely worth a 9th round flyer and a pairing, because I think that his better years are ahead of him, personally.
I'm going to disagree for all the right reasons of Matt I don't think his ceiling is as astronomical as Matt's saying, but I think his floor, which Matt started hitting, is much higher than it was last year. I think going into his rookie season, he's a smart quarterback, but I also think he's not as much of a risk taker. But his floor is very nice. He's a very efficient QB. He's going into next year. He's going to even be even better. I think you're going to see more value out of Dez than you did last year. I think he's going to take a little bit more risk, but I think Dak is going to be a safer quarterback where you're going to get more value out of him. I don't know where his ceiling is going to be. I don't think it's that high, but I do like that he'll be a more consistent quarterback than Marcus Mariota, which is what Matt did pair them with. And I do like Dak in that level, but I think he'll be more consistent with him.
Let me ask you a question on that. So do you think that Dak this year could throw for 3,600 yards, 23 touchdowns, and say only like 4 picks, and almost 300 yards on the ground with 6 rushing touchdowns? Do you think that's a possibility?
That's fair.
Absolutely.
I think that's what he did last year in his rookie year, is my point, and he was the 6th quarterback. So if he improves literally at all, and I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for him to throw for 400 more yards and maybe rush for another 100. And I think that puts you in the top 3 potential quarterback range. I'm just saying, he was 6th quarterback last year. I mean, if he does much better, he only scored, I think it was like he was 14 points behind the 5 and 4 quarterback. So it's not ridiculous that he could totally be a top 3 or 4 quarterback overall, especially if, I'm just saying at the bargain price, his ceiling is huge, I think. Huge.
I don't know about a ceiling, but I just think that with the same argument, like I agree with you. I like Dak a lot too. I think he's a great quarterback. I think just even off field, his personality, he's a poised guy. What Dallas needs, obviously, with Dez and Zeke, this guy is a very composed young guy, and I think he's going to be very good. I just think his floor is going to be much higher. I don't know about he's going to explode every week, but I think he's going to be a lot of good value.
No, high floor on a quarterback is everything, in my opinion.
Which I agree with. That's why I agree, because I like that he has a low – because when you're having a high floor on a QB, because we were talking about like Eli and you're throwing this, but if you have a high floor on a QB, that's great because you want those consistent – if you can get a consistent 17 points a week, you're okay with it. And I think Dak obviously is going to peak more than that, but he's going to have a higher floor. I don't know if he's going to explode as much. I think he lands at – he's going to be like top 7. I think Andrew Luck's going to have a better year this year. Russell Wilson's going to be healthier this year. He's going to move up. I think Derek Carr's going to be better than him. I think he's going to be that number 7 QB. I like him a lot. I don't think his ceiling is as high, but I think his floor is so high that he is a very safe QB, and he's going to be a very good fantasy value where you're getting him.
My point is, on Fantasy Football Calculator, there's 9 quarterbacks going in the first 8 rounds. I don't care if I draft Aaron Rodgers in the first, which I would never do, but any draft that I am in this year, if Dak Prescott is available in the 10th round, I'm taking him every single draft that I'm in. I'll say that.
And he's going at the very end of the 10th, and I like that, Matt. So I agree with you, and for different reasons, but yes.
I'm sorry, I meant to say the 9th round. He's there in the 9th round of any draft.
So you're saying you're reaching for Dak for what the value is.
I want Dak so bad. If Dak plays 16 games, he's going to be a top 8 quarterback for sure.
I agree. I think he's going to be a top 7. I said top 7. I'll give you that number 7 pick.
Draft insurance is my point.
I would love a Mariota and Prescott.
Tyrod,
I think Mariota has a higher ceiling.
No, I disagree completely.
I think so.
Nice.
He certainly has more weapons.
He has so many more weapons, dude, and his red zone efficiency, which we already said,
that has to go stop,
too far, and it's going to drop. Yes, regression. I think the ceiling is higher for Mariota than it would be for Prescott, but I think Prescott's floor is just so much higher.
Do you think there's better odds that Mariota is a top 5 quarterback this year than Dak?
No.
A top 5?
Well, top 7, whatever. I mean, who you think it's more likely that Mariota is better than Dak than Dak?
I think Dak is your safer pick, is what I'll say.
Okay.
I think that's to Matt's point completely.
His
like I said, I agree for like different reasons, but yes, I think Dak is undervalued. I think stealing him or taking him at the very end of 10th or beginning of the 11th is a steal. Yes. So I like Dak too, but for different reasons, and I agree with Matt.
Okay.
For different reasons, because I don't like Matt.
Personal bias aside from Don, I think Matt made his fucking claim big time. And it just seemed last year with Dak, it was just everyone would doubt him every time. And he makes the throws when it counted. He ran when he needed to, and he just makes smart moves.
He's smart.
And, he's very smart. He's a very good quarterback, and people were very quick to just say, nah, fuck Dak. He's a product of the system in his first year. So it's just –
who has gone 23-4 in 16 games as a rookie? That's
exactly. People were so quick to doubt this, and then I think now the fantasy football community is saying regression. I think we're overvaluing the regression. Sure, it might be a little bit, but not anywhere near like what we'll see this season.
There will be no sophomore slump for Dak Prescott.
So. Agreed. And Matt is completely dead on with the 9th round target, I believe.
Regression is possible in his efficiency, but I think that he'll just get more. He'll just be a better quarterback this year. He will have more fantasy points this year than last year.
Yes, his efficiency will go down and his value will go higher because he's going to be a little bit riskier, but it's going to work out in the long run. Agreed.
And rolling right into how they will probably have to throw more and possibly be less efficient with Zeke missing games. I want to take this over to Dez now. And he is going with the 7th pick in the 2nd round. I love Dez so much, but he's had injury problems over the last couple of years. Mainly, I've talked to this with Ed, who's a friend of the podcast, a lot because I've been falling in love with Dez and how late he's going late, very late. As late as we've seen him in a couple of years.
Ever, yeah. Well, yeah.
I don't know about ever, but definitely
no.
Recently.
Like since he's been like Dez.
He was Dez.
Since he was Dez, which could be a great rap song, Don, get on it. And then the downsides to him are making him a riskier pick than I want to be, and I just want to believe in Dez all the way. So he's facing Janoris Jenkins 2 times, faces Josh Norman 2 times, Aqib Talib, Patrick Peterson, Jermaine Johnson, Marcus Peters, and Richard Sherman. That's some tough-ass games, especially if they're shadowing him. Do you guys think that should affect people's banking on Dez to perform as a wide receiver 1? Because if you're taking him in the 7th round, unless you're doubling up on wide receiver, he's going to be your 1 in most cases. So let's go to you, Don. Yeah,
man, that was just a slip of the tongue, but it's so.
Sorry, what did I say?
You said 7th round, but I'm just making.
Oh no. Sorry,
I know you know. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure for everybody else.
Yeah. Sorry. So. What do you guys think?
No, I mean, Vin. Obviously, you came prepared to talk about Dez.
I definitely did. Bro, I love Dez.
Bro, Vin.
So, I think Walsh talks about it too. Dez is like the physical freak, the most physical freak of probably these wide receivers, starting from Antonio Brown down. Yes, he's got very good coverage going against him this year. I think that Dez Bryant landing in the 9th pick is very fair. You've seen between injury and then the change of quarterback last year, you've seen quite a bit of a drop with Dez Bryant's value. But again, in the same sense, I'm still taking him before Amari Cooper, Doug Baldwin, Brandon Cooks, DeAndre Hopkins, Demaryius Thomas, Keenan Allen. So that 9th pick, I'll take T.Y., and if you want to fly Michael Thomas, fine. I could go here or there with Michael Thomas on it, but Dez Bryant, 9th overall wide receiver, I like it a lot. He has proven who he is in the league. He is a physical monster. He is the LeBron of wide receivers there. I think he could still body some of those cornerbacks, no matter how good they are. So Dez Bryant being the 9th wide receiver off and the end of, or close to the end of the 2nd round, that's fine.
Yeah. LeBron, no, not the LeBron of wide receivers. No.
With physical traits?
That's just physical. Yeah. No. It's
Sorry. Matt's on his 10th Rolling Rock here.
Yeah, it's a lot of Rolling Rock. But
$6.50. I can't blame you though.
I just have to externalize my hate to Don. But to his point, though, I'm into Dez. But what you were saying, Vinny, is he's probably your one. Because where's he going? He's going in that range of you're getting one of those first 3 running backs, right? So he's probably your number one. End of the second-ish, right?
No, he's the 7th pick.
So what I'm thinking is if I take Dez, because that value's not bad. Last year, after he took a little while with Dak, but after week 7 bye, he had 48 catches, 778 yards, and 9 touchdowns rest of the way. That's pretty tight. And, in there, he had a bad game against the Giants, but so did Dak. And in there was, Xavier Rhodes. And not Xavier Rhodes. Who am I thinking of? Who's the corner of the Minnesota Vikings?
Terrence Newman?
No, not Terrence Newman. There was another guy.
Xavier Rhodes.
Who's shadowing people. So Xavier Rhodes was in there. Josh Norman was in there. He put up 75 yards. So if I'm doing that, which I like the value, then I'm making sure if I go running back receiver, then all of my next 4 picks are flex players, and hopefully 3 of them are receivers. You want to ensure that a little bit because Dez may turn into a week-to-week guy a little bit more than you want. But his ceiling is still, to what Don said, he's the Chris Bosh of wide receivers.
You actually could, if you're in a 10-team league, you can actually pair Zeke with Dez if you're a Cowboy.
Holy shit.
That's too many question marks for me.
No, but it's actually kind of realistic.
The upside I'm looking with Dez, I know he's facing a lot of tough corners and tough matchups, but he's still Dez. If he's healthy, he's a monster, top 10 receiver, no doubt. And if the Cowboys regress in any way, shape, or form, and Zeke misses games, Dak's going to have to air it out to Dez a ton. So I like his upside in those situations. Again, we have to monitor all this because the Cowboys are always a fucking mess. But obviously, we like Dez. It's just a tad risky, but obviously the upside is always fucking there.
But again,
a Zeke suspension would help Dez?
I think a Zeke suspension definitely helps Dez.
Okay. I don't have an opinion on it. I was curious.
Yeah, it's just one of the things I had to think about because Zeke is, potentially up in the air. So it just seemed positive to me.
Circling back, though, to where we were talking about Dak and Matt even said, too, where we think that the efficiency is going to go down with Dak, but the value of the fantasy points are going to go up. I think that all goes to Dez. I think Dak started off the year not wanting to air it out. And I think that's where his fantasy value kind of was lower. And I think that's where he's going to make up with this year is finding more Dez.
Agreed. Yeah,
that's true. To both your points too. That is something I'm thinking about now. If even if it's a bad corner, if Dez gets 12 targets in a game, more often than not, no matter what the situation is, that's good for you.
He's going off.
I'd like to go look back at those stats and game logs, but I bet you if he gets 12 targets, you're fine. That's the only issue you got to really worry about.
Yeah,
I like Dez this year better than Dez last year, easily.
Yes. Yeah,
going into the fantasy season.
Well, yeah, because, Romo got hurt and we didn't know that Dak was amazing. So there was always that to take into account. But we've spent a fuckload of time on the 3 biggest stars. So we could move on. I mean, to the Redskins in a little bit here. Is there anybody you guys want to talk about? I know, Matt, you mentioned I cannot find his name. Where is it? Ryan Switzer? Do you want to
Ryan Switzer. No, it's just Ryan Switzer. He's not a guy to be drafted at all, but he's sort of a Cole Beasley type, 5'10", shifty speed slot guy. And apparently Jerry Jones just really, really outspokenly loves him. And that could be a changing of the guard of that short white slot receiver role that the Cowboys like to have forever. So it's definitely not something to think about going into drafts, but totally could be a plug and play by receiver guy come midseason. Just someone to keep an eye on.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, in the 12-team mock we did, Don, I know you took Cole Beasley really late, and it looked like a bailout pick to me at the time. But when Matt mentioned Ryan Switzer today, I was like, oh yeah, yes, exactly. So maybe people I know Cole Beasley right now has an ADP. Obviously, Ryan Switzer does not, unless it's probably a larger league. So people need to kind of remember that.
Right, yeah, that's warranted, but just keep in mind that there's Cole Beasley's role is not defined anymore in that offense as it was. They literally drafted essentially the exact same guy. So
yeah,
gotcha.
I think that Beasley, for the most part, if he was drafted last year, whatever, I don't think anyone had very high expectations. Dak used him as a safety net, being that slot receiver, just short passes, dumping it off. Again, gravitating back to what we've been saying with Dak and Dez. Again, he's going to be a little bit less efficient, but he's going to have more fantasy points. That's going to give Cole Beasley that lesser amount of targets. Cole Beasley at the 13th round is fine. I wouldn't reach any higher for Cole Beasley because that's probably where he'll land fantasy value-wise.
I say no, just because the only reason I bring up Switzer is because Cole Beasley in the past 2 or 3 years has won people fantasy leagues for sure. So if that ends up changing to somebody else, just something to keep an eye on. Know him before the season starts.
Yeah, there's just a little bit of chemistry with Dak, so he's obviously at that 13th round, draft him. He's not like a waiver. He does get drafted this year. But again, it's not going to be the value of what you saw last year.
Yeah, very fair. Overall, Cole Beasley last year, even with Dak as a safety valve, was pretty mediocre. He really only had 4 startable weeks. But like Matt said, those were week winning performances. So I guess, take into what we said into account and figure that out in your drafts. You really don't have to take either of those guys anytime soon. And I guess really only person worth mentioning real quick is just, I guess, Terrence Williams. He's always kind of this bye-week plug-and-play to me. Don't draft him at all, but just keep your eye on him. And then Jason Witten is still in the offense. He's still kicking and alive, back for his 25th season. And he is the Frank Gore of tight end, so enjoy your floor if you want to take him. That being said, we're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors and come back with the Redskins.
This year, dominate your friends with free play-by-play fantasy football from Vupiq. Vupiq is the first play-to-play fantasy football game where you crush your friends from the comfort of your own couch. For the first time in fantasy football, you must think like the players and coaches on the field as you predict the outcome of every play. Visit Vupiq.com, VUPIQ.com, and sign up now for an invitation to beta test.
And we are back here. We're going to delve into the Washington Redskins to close out this podcast. I know we spent a lot of time on the Cowboys, so we might have to skim through the Redskins. I don't know. Do you guys want to do that or just fucking go balls out?
We'll see how it unfolds.
Yeah, I agree. So let's do the opposite. Let's start off with the quarterback. I know we've been touching on the skill positions recently with the podcast, so we talked about how badass Kirk Cousins is when we opened, and I don't think anything changed from last year. He almost eclipsed 5,000 yards, has the entire front office in the palm of his hand, and they're missing a lot of weapons, as in Deshaun Jackson exited to Tampa Bay, and he had Pierre Garçon going to the 49ers, which leaves a ton of targets and yards on the field, but they replaced them with Terrell Pryor. And that's, I guess, just Terrell Pryor. I thought I had another name, but I guess Jamison Crowder gets a bigger role in that offense. So I think Kirk is completely prepared to have a similar year last year, and he's going to want to play like he's never played before to get that ultimate deal that he's searching for.
Yeah, I agree. All I'll say is Kirk is that low-end quarterback one, depending on the size of your league, put around like 11, 12, and he would be the perfect type of guy to pair with a Dak or a Mariota. And, if you want to wait on quarterback, snag a Cousins-Rivers combo, something like that, I'd combo him with somebody, play it on matchups. Like, for instance, I was in a league last year, I'll say quick, where I made the playoffs actually with Kirk Cousins and Mariota matchup-based, like just going back and forth. So he's a good guy for that. He plays well against bad defenses. He can blow up big. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I completely agree. Don, you like Kirk or no?
No, I like Kirk. I mean, I think it's an upgrade that he gets Terrell Pryor. Walsh said, which I like with Walsh, was this is his third year as a receiver. And Terrell Pryor, we've seen some pretty crazy things. So I think this being his third year as a receiver, coming to Washington with a much better quarterback, you're going to see a lot of great things. Jamison Crowder, this is his third season too. And we've seen some good things last year. So and if Jordan Reed stays healthy, you can have a really nice year with Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on a bunch of guys there, but we'll focus on Terrell Pryor, I guess. He's going 12th pick in the third round. It's a little pricey, I guess, for a guy moving over to a new team, but I'm not surprised either because he's inheriting a much better offense, like you said. And he was able to get over 1,000 yards and 4 receiving touchdowns on an anemic Browns offense. So jumping over to Kirk Cousins, who's going to fucking sling it over to him, is the ceiling is definitely like boosting his ADP here for sure.
Yeah, you're completely right. It's a little pricey for me. I would go as far though as I'll say that like Jamison Crowder, Terrell Pryor, both in the top 30 wide receivers at the end of the year for sure. That would not surprise me. I think they're both going to have big years. He was wide receiver 18 with the Browns last year, but to your point, it's a little pricey. I mean, end of third round, you said that's rough. You know, I wouldn't feel really great taking him there just because the guy's not a natural receiver and he's coming from the Browns. So many question marks again. So I like him. His value could be there end of the year, but I'm not loving that price.
So you're looking at it like in the opposite way where everyone's mainly thinking that, holy shit, he did this on the Browns. How can I trust that?
Yeah, what it is that it's just completely different. It's that you don't. I don't watch a lot of Browns games. I'm sure you know. But I'm sure
I actually do, Matt, being a Bengals fan. So I do at least see them two games.
But what is great for number one wide receivers being down 3 possessions in the fourth quarter, and I'm sure Terrell Pryor benefited a bit from that. So it's just I'm just saying that whenever it changes and shifts like that from a bad team to a good team, it's like Cody Kessler is not going to be potentially just chucking it up to Terrell Pryor hoping he makes a play. It's the Redskins could be a playoff team this year. And it's just to me that just for the third round price, Terrell Pryor is going to be great this year, I think. But I don't want him. If I pulled a D.O.N. and went Gordon Ajayi in rounds 1 and 2, you're telling me if I draft Terrell Pryor, he's my number 1? Maybe, but I don't love it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Again, kind of in different reasons. Again, I think Terrell Pryor, you got to remember, he played QB, twice last year? And he still finished in the top 30. So remember, he didn't play wide receiver for a few games as well. On top of that, how many quarterback changes were in Cleveland on top of that? And I think all of us here with LTFF are Kirk Cousins believers. I think Terrell Pryor is going to play a very nice role with the Redskins. This is a playoff year that they need. This is a year that they need Kirk Cousins to stay with the team. So yes, Matt does believe that he's going to stay, and he probably will land at a value. But I also agree with I don't know how I could take him over Jarvis Landry, Devontae Adams, and maybe Martavis Bryant. And I agree with that. But in the same sense, if you think about it too, Terrell Pryor can have a very, very good year this year. So
right. I'm saying I'm willing to take that risk on both the ends of that spectrum in round 4 or 5 as my wide receiver 2 or 3. That's all.
If you can get him in the 4th round, you gotta grab him at that point. But yes, it's very hard when you see Jarvis Landry and Devontae Adams, Martavis Bryant, Tyreek Hill behind him.
I'm not going to own any Terrell Pryor this year. I know that.
That's fair. That's fair. But I think his upside is definitely there. He's in a better system. I think he's just an athletic freak, and he did a lot with Cleveland with nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
and playing at a different position. He played QB.
This is the year. This is the year for Pryor to prove it. I think completely. Like Matt said, it could have been a freak year last year with the Browns really being a wide receiver 1. So he's moving over to the Redskins, which he's arguably their wide receiver 1. I mean, you have Crowder running in the slot. You have Josh Doxson, who we haven't seen much out of him at all. He played 2 games last year with the Achilles injury. So we're seeing the offense brand new. And their 2,000-yard receivers, Garcon and Jackson, are both leaving. So I think that's where I kind of feel safer taking Pryor because those 2 are both gone. They have to throw it. And I just who else is going to get that? Jordan Reed could arguably be the number 1 passing threat on the team, but wide receiver 1, I think I'm leaning Pryor as that dude.
I'll sum it up with this, and it's not exactly a great comparison, but 2 words on my feelings for Terrell Pryor would be Travis Benjamin. Not saying that Benjamin was as good as Terrell Pryor. Terrell Pryor is way better in every single way, but Travis Benjamin finished in the top 25, if I'm not mistaken, in 2015 and with the Browns. And then goes to the Chargers. Keenan Allen goes down. Not saying Travis Benjamin had the role Terrell Pryor would have, but it was a huge drop-off. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a slight drop-off with Terrell Pryor is all I'm saying.
That's fair.
Totally fair.
But I think Terrell Pryor overall is just a better football player. And
what he's been able to do is
I'm not taking that.
No, that's fair. I agree.
The Travis Benjamin issue is something I would consider a little bit.
No, that totally makes sense, and it warrants your caution towards this whole situation. Which me and Don are going to look dumb, or you're going to look dumb if we're skipping on him in the third round. So we shall see at the end of the season, as we always do.
And Shrek looks good on it.
Shrek ruins everything.
Yeah, no, Shrek likes Terrell Pryor, so.
We'll see, man. But so I mean, we talked a lot about Pryor. Don, you fucking love Crowder. What do you think about him? What?
Well, he's a Duke boy, man.
Duke boy?
He's from Duke.
Duke boy.
Great analysis.
Yeah, it sounds like a slur.
It wasn't even supposed to be an analysis until then you had to question it. No, I mean, I think Terrell Pryor is going to be that number one wide receiver. I think where he lands with the 8th pick in the 5th round, I'll definitely take him before Willie Snead, Brandon Marshall, and Stephon Diggs. They seem to talk about him a lot. I like Jamison Crowder. I think that offense is going to be good, man. I think Washington's an underrated offense this year. So I like that. I think I like him better than Larry Fitzgerald too, and Larry Fitzgerald's going before him. I'll take Jamison Crowder over Larry Fitzgerald.
Jamison Crowder is going to break the fuck out this year, dude. Put him over Pryor. I'm not going to take him there necessarily. I'm not going to put my money where my mouth is, but that dude could be a top 15 receiver this year.
Yeah, and I'll take him over Golden Tate too.
Every time I saw him play, I'll admit I haven't watched every Redskins game, but like
you just watched him wreck the Packers. That's probably why.
Sick, dude.
Sorry. What does that mean?
Yeah, so he played really well against the Packers. That's true. But in all seriousness, he is just primed for a fucking breakout. He had a great year behind Deshaun and Garcon, 2 veteran receivers. It's gonna be. He's oh god, I want him to move in with me. be my friend.
I think when it comes down to it, we all just we're banking on a lot of things that will pan out, and I think we're very solidified, like Cousins being able to pass for over 4,000 yards guaranteed. A lot of targets going around to all these guys. A lot of yards to be had, touchdowns, random party, but they'll definitely be there for all 3 of those dudes.
Yeah, a lot of proving to be made out of that offense.
I suppose so, yeah, a little bit. But, it's just capable, very capable. I guess we don't see Josh Doxson really as much, do we?
Nah, whatever.
Not in drafts.
I agree completely. Health, the whole health thing, and just it's whatever. If he's in the offense, he's just a really bad 2. Since we talked about the passing threats, let's move over to Jordan Reed, going with the 7th pick in the 4th round. I took him super early in our draft. I didn't even realize.
You took him number 2 overall, right? Over
I did right
Kelsey.
After Gronk. Yeah, I took him before Kelsey. I took him 3rd round, which is an entire round before his ADP, which, I'm still cool with it. I love Jordan Reed's potential. You hate him?
No, I don't hate him. I just
yeah. What I did was very stupid. What I did was very stupid. That was my really bad.
But you just said you didn't hate it.
Huh?
You didn't hate it, though.
No, but it was stupid. I didn't hate it, but I was dumb.
I was putting you on blast, dude.
So you think it's stupid, but you didn't hate it.
Right. It's one of those pull the trigger moments. It totally could have panned out because if he's healthy, he could be the tight end 1 for sure.
Not if Gronk's healthy.
Another variable that I agree with.
But you're not. No. That was good. What I'll say about Jordan Reed is just so injury prone. For his price right now, I'm saying this to his price. So injury prone. Huge weighted games as far as 2 touchdown games and nothing for weeks. I'm not buying it. He's tight end 2. He should be the 2nd drafted tight end for sure, maybe. But no way at that price. Tight ends suck. I'll say it every podcast that I'm on for the rest of the season. Tight ends should no longer be a position in fantasy football. They should all be wide receivers, and every league should be a 3 wide receiver league. Because this is just garbage. I'm not Jordan Reed. No, not before the 7th round. I will not own Jordan Reed in even a fucking mock draft.
Yeah, no, I won't either. But his potential is higher than Travis Kelce. I believe he's the one that's going back and forth with Jordan Reed on 2 and 3. But yeah, man, and I've talked about it with Gronk too. I'm not willing to waste that high of a draft pick. Gronk could. Some people want to take him at the end of first or middle of second. Why are you going to waste a draft pick that high for someone that's so injury prone? Like so injury prone.
Oh, I'll take Gronk middle second.
No, too injury prone.
I agree. I'm very much on the Gronk train.
I am into Gronk at like 17 overall so hard. Oh my god. Flex that shit, Gronk.
I agree. So, all right. Basically, we're still in our old ways that we're fucking in the rut. Do not take tight end early. But we agree. Jordan Reed's pretty sweet if he can stay healthy, but not for that price. And Matt was very vocal about not touching him at all, even in mocks. And all right,
go up by the fourth every draft. That's all.
Yes, he's name value for sure, potential for sure, and that's why his current ADP is what it is. So this is going to take a little bit of delving into. The Redskins running backs I'm like super confused because the number one back, Rob Kelly, I think for the foreseeable future and probably week one starter, is going 11th pick in the 9th round. And then you have Samaje Perine, who is the rookie they drafted, going in the 8th round with the 2nd pick. This is one of those situations that's very similar to Dalvin Cook and Kareem Hunt, where people are overvaluing this guy's draft position based on what he could possibly do at some point in the season that you do not know. And I can't get my head around it at all.
So I actually delved into this because I know nothing about Samaje Perine like before today, essentially. And I looked at Jay Gruden's quotes about those two running backs, and he goes, "We really love and are impressed with what Rob Kelly did last year, and that makes us happy." And then about Perine, he said, "He is the full package, and I'm confident that he can handle any workload at all."
Oh, boy.
So that was just like, ugh.
Don't touch. That means don't touch either of these guys.
No, I'm saying buy Samaje Perine at his price. Rob Kelly is a late-round flyer.
He's saying Rob Kelly did an honorable job, but Samaje
Perine.
It makes you feel bad for him.
No, it's as ambiguous as you thought it was, Vinny. But I'm saying that just the fact that he's giving an untested rookie that sort of praise, and Rob Kelly's not the franchise back.
No.
You know that.
Yeah, I do.
So I think this dude's going to get a shot, and I think that you should own him and stash him deep on your bench as running back 5. And if that dude turns into last year's Rob Kelly, that's a guy that could help you make the playoffs in the right moments, you know?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, what I was going to say about Rob Kelly is he took over the Bengals game when they played the Bengals in London, week 8, and pretty much took off with the starting job for the next 3 weeks. He dominated. He got 20 touches in the next 3 games, did great. Top 10 running back all 3 of those weeks, but then kind of tailed off. So that might be why the praise for Perine is so high. And I'm just trying to figure out if I think they'll give him an honest shot to start the season. I'm talking about Rob Kelly. So if he can hold on to that job, it'll just make it more and more frustrating to own Samaje Perine. And like we've been talking about it for so long. When you take these guys like Dalvin Cook, Kareem Hunt, Samaje Perine, they're burning a roster spot for you, and you don't know when it's going to come to fruition at all.
See, you're right, but I think that not for the first 3 weeks. It's bad. You know what I mean? Like, I think Samaje Perine, I would not be surprised if, from what I've read just today. So this is not saying but right. I think it's going to start out in a timeshare situation. And the only way that Perine does not start to slowly take the job and be like an 18-plus carry a game guy is if Rob Kelly plays great and he plays bad. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking Rob Kelly is going where he probably should as a guy that is way late at the end that you could maybe work with for a few weeks. But Perine could be a starter that is viable option week to week in their running back, low running back too. I think that he has that potential.
All right. It's just so I mean, you made very good points, obviously, but it's like
so you can bail on it quick, you know?
Yes, exactly. Okay. So
you're gonna take him or Charles Sims. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you're kind of like, all right, so you're weighing like what you'll throw away, and it's not that big of a deal if you're gonna take Charles Sims instead of fucking Samaje Perine, which the upside is clear with Perine.
Right. So what I'm saying is the two running backs going back to back are Perrine and Kareem Hunt on the Chiefs. And I think it's more likely that Perrine gets his starting job than Kareem Hunt does. Earlier, longer. You know what I mean? I think that he has more. I think there's a better chance he becomes a low running back too than Kareem Hunt does.
All right. Yeah, fair enough. Because obviously on their prospective teams, we have Kareem Hunt behind Spencer Ware. We have Dalvin Cook behind Latavius Murray. So obviously you think Perrine is the guy that can overtake Rob Kelly the easiest because Rob Kelly's just kind of a no-name dude.
Right. That's even a better way to put it, is that I actually think of those three guys, Perrine is the better value because he has the easiest route to the starting job.
That is completely fair. I think I've actually kind of turned around on this a tad. I still won't do it, but I understand more of what, like, yeah, because I just kind of lumped them all in this basket, and I was just like, don't fucking touch any of these guys. They won't come. They won't make sense during the season.
Right. See
John?
That's called swaying your friends with fantasy knowledge.
Don, change me back. I don't want to like Perrine at all.
True.
Do you like him?
I agree with it. I think it's Perrine's job to take. It's definitely the easiest route of them all. I think that's if you're gonna take the flyer of the upside of running back between those guys. I think Perrine is going to be the long run future of the running backs. It's just you gotta hang tight for a few weeks before he takes it over.
Something to note too is that Rob Kelly in the offseason has been going through a little bit of an Eddie Lacy issue, which I won't explain.
Yeah, I mean,
to our podcast. What's up with that?
You mean he's being a little fat piggy boy?
Yeah, they're going to late night McDonald's, Bud Heavies, and Big Macs.
Yeah, he was definitely crushing some crave cases every once in a while last year too. So,
I mean, his nickname is Fat Rob.
His nickname's Fat Rob. Nothing else to say on that. I agree.
Good point. I think that pretty much wraps up the Redskins. Anything else, guys? I mean, we know we missed kind of one running back there, Chris Thompson, but I don't really know. He's kind of the Shane Vereen of this backfield.
Yeah. I mean, he's a dime a dozen at the late round. One thing I'll say just on these two teams that we talked about, Cowboys and Redskins here, is that if you're going to go with any of those questionable picks that you feel weird about, like when we were talking about Dez and, Terrell Pryor, any of these guys, insure it quick in drafts would be my only advice. That if you're going for high risk on a position, settle that shit quick with some insurance.
All right. Fair enough. Go risk, take a lock. And I guess really we just have to end on Ed's question of the week, which we'll go back to Dez, who now is kind of just talking about. Ed writes, do you guys think that Dez is going where he should be in mock drafts? He's mid-second behind Michael Thomas and T.Y. Hilton, ahead of Cooper and Baldwin.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said when I was talking about him. I think he lands where he's supposed to be. I think we can go back and forth with Michael Thomas. I don't know if I'm as high with Michael Thomas as most are, but I would think Dez lands exactly – or he's landing where he should be. I think his value definitely goes up this year. Dak will get more comfortable with him, and that's where that fantasy points gap will make up with his completion percentage on that. So take Dez where he is.
I agree with that, though I like Amari Cooper more, so I'll say.
I was going to say I like Baldwin more, who's going behind him.
So give or take, he's potentially falling where he is.
So long on Baldwin for like 3 straight years that I just gotta keep going.
I'm in the same boat, man. I think Walsh actually said that on the mock draft podcast with you guys.
Yeah,
when you keep doubting Baldwin, he's just been fucking great, and he's a good wide receiver. So I finally come around to him. I think the rest of us have. So John thinks he's where he should be. I guess what me and Matt are saying is he's pretty much going where he should be too. Just it's all preference at that point.
Yeah.
So just depending on what you want for your team and how your first round went, because it can go any way, as we've been talking about with those top 7 picks. So adjust accordingly, people. And that totally kills it for the NFC East. Do you guys know what division we're doing next for the podcast? Or
nope,
I don't.
You want to choose it now?
Yeah, let's do
AFC North.
I was going to say,
oh
NFC
yes,
North with NFC North.
Bengals. Woo. Let's get on that.
Let's go Pittsburgh. Absolutely. Actually, no. I hate Pittsburgh.
Thank you, Don.
I don't like Pittsburgh at all.
Who does, except for people in Pittsburgh and their Super Bowls and shit. Whatever. We are closing out this podcast. Thanks for hanging with us to wrap up the NFC East. If you didn't listen to the other part, go back and listen to that. If you didn't listen to the mock draft podcast, it's very long but very awesome. Go back and listen to that. You can review us on iTunes. And above all of that crap, start mocking. Get out there. Mock forever.
Mock.
Mock today, mock tomorrow, mock forever.
Mock.
Yeah. All right, we got to close this out before we start singing. I am Vinny Gonzalez for Matt Rogers, Don Chrisman, the D.O.N.
Hey.
We are Let's Talk Fantasy Football. Thanks for hanging with us. We'll see you guys the next time.
This has been Let's Talk Fantasy Football. Thanks for listening.